Bring back the good old days where you could throw pans at other employees.
Yeah, but you got to
guys.
heat them up first.
Yeah.
Right? Like, don't throw a cold pan at somebody. They can catch that.
From Maine's cold coast to Connecticut pride, Vermont's green hills take it all in stride. Massachusetts traffic we grip and we grind with a Dunkin' iced coffee and no peace of mind. So New England stands up proud. Chowder thick, we shout it loud. From Fenway Chance to Rhode Island tide, New Hampshire's cry, live free or die. So New England with Ian Brownhill.
Good friggin' morning from New England, folks. Welcome back to episode 60 of the So New England podcast. I am your host, Ian Brownhill, joined by my co-host, Robert Travisano, all things Life's Better in New England, So New England podcast producer, Vinny G behind the camera. And we have a special one for you today, as we always do. But this one, they actually found us, which we're very excited about. So shout out to Madison for reaching out and making this connection here, because we are at a staple of New England, a very, very prominent name in the community. So we are very honored to have this individual on the podcast today. RJ, please tell us who our guest is today.
Yeah, chef. I don't know if that's how they really do it or say it, but I saw it on TV show and thought it was really cool, so I wanted to give it a try. How fitting for this episode, though. Here on the So New England podcast, we've had foodies, bloggers, vloggers, and tons of people who just love to eat, including myself. But today we pull back the curtain, grab our knives, tie our aprons because we're heading into the kitchen, folks, where all the real magic happens. Don't let his current title fool you, though. Our guest today has spent 30 plus years chefing it up and mastering his craft, especially for our beloved favorites in good old New England, with pit stops along the way like the Ponte Verde Inn and the famous X's House in New York. I didn't say that right, but it's okay. From Shrewsbury, Mass., a graduate of the Culinary Institute of America, president and COO of Legal Seafood, Chef Matt King.
That's the most hype intro I've ever had in my life.
Matt, thank you so much for having us on today.
Thank you.
This is like an incredible view. I feel like the cameras aren't doing it justice. We are on the third floor of Legal Seafoods in the Seaport of Boston. I mean, this is incredible. You know, I mean, again, this is why I argue that Rhode Island might not be the ocean state, because it doesn't look this beautiful. And I'm a big plane guy, so I love watching the planes come in here. So
It's got to be, hands down the best view in Boston.
This is incredible.
Between, the airport across, the boats coming in, it's awesome.
yeah. So Matt, again, thank you so much for making the time to jump on with us. I know that you're a very busy individual running such a wonderful food industry company like this as Legal Seafood. So, I mean, I'm going to be really quick and into it, man.
Sure.
Tell us
Get
your
into
story. How did you become the CEO of Legal Seafood?
Oh my God, it's been a journey, right? So I grew up, as you guys said, in Shrewsbury. So I'm a local guy, and I kind of fell in love with cooking at a really young age, right? I had two parents that both worked, and I'll never forget this, right? My mom had, and I could still picture where it was, right? She had this cabinet that was underneath the counter, and there was this series of Time Life cookbooks, and each book was like a different country. Right?
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
and like they
cool.
were like old and like, you cracked the spine open because nobody ever used them, kind of a thing, right? And I decided to call my mom at work one day. I was young, right? I was like 8 or 9 years old maybe. And I was like, hey, I'm going to make dinner tonight. Because, we went out for dinner a lot, whatever. And I was like, I want to have dinner at home. So her first question was, I have an older brother. He said, is he there? Like, obviously he's there with you, but like, don't use a knife or anything without him around before you cut a finger off. So I found, decided I like going when we went out for Italian food, right? So I found Italy. It's like, perfect, right? So it's like half in Italian. And I called my mother again, and I'm like, all right, what's fontina? And she says, it's cheese. I'm like, great, we've got American cheese. Perfect. I'll just sub that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I call her again. I said, hey, what's prosciutto? She's like, it's ham. I was perfect. We have ham. Right? So it was meant to be this chicken breast with prosciutto and fontina cheese and like this beautiful thing, but it was chicken with ham and American cheese. Right? But
that sounds delicious to me.
sounds great.
I see
That
nothing
sounds
wrong
good.
with this. Just
right, it was like Kraft singles. I'm trying to like,
let's be honest.
which is not even really cheese.
Arguably the best cheese, though.
but it's not even like
taste-wise.
it melts better.
Well,
than
maybe
anything
not
else.
for you, but for our unexperienced palates, I'm like, Kraft cheese, I'm in.
Right, but like it melts better than anything in the world, right? So that was kind of the first meal I ever cooked, right? So that weekend, my mother brought me and we bought the right ingredients to try to make it the right way. And, I had a grandfather that later in his life, he got into cooking. And anytime he would visit or we would visit him, I'd always cook with him. So it just became a thing that I enjoyed doing, right? So I was maybe 14, 15 years old, and I started working for this deli who was, kind of a friend of the family that had done some catering for us in the past. It was a catering company and a deli. And I was just washing some dishes, and, he starts teaching me to chop lettuce and like a few different things. He also taught me how to cauterize a wound on a flat top, which is probably not like a good thing to do, but it's totally a chef thing. He bought me my first beer. He got me drunk on Sambuca, like all sorts of like good life lessons.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But
amazing.
I fell in love with the industry. And I remember saying to my parents, I'm like, I want to be a chef. And I want to apply, and I'm going to go to the Culinary Institute of America because it's like the Harvard of cooking. And they're like, oh, well, maybe you should go to like Johnson & Wales or something like that, because when you change your mind and you want to do something else, you could change majors. The Culinary Institute of America is very much one thing. I said, no, I'm not going to change my mind. If I wanted to be a lawyer and I got into Harvard, you'd want me to go to Harvard, right? Like, so I want to be a chef. I should go to the CIA, right? Which we later nicknamed Cash in Advance because it's quite an expensive school to go to. People from Johnson Wales have another name for it. I don't know. Can I swear on this podcast?
Yes, go for it.
Cocky, ignorant assholes.
Yes.
Right, that was the one that
as Rhode Islanders, we can confirm.
Right. That was the Johnson & Wales nickname for it. And we just referred to them as just watching.
Yeah.
So, like it was a back and forth thing. But that was kind of how I got started. Right. And I just started cooking, and I graduated from CIA, and I moved down to Florida. And I spent 3 years working at this great resort, Ponte Vedra Inn and Club. And I worked under a chef there, Chef Don Plo, who was kind of a real mentor for me.
Oh, that's great.
And we looked a little similar, right? So like, this is a funny story. You guys seem to like funny stories. So I'll tell you this one.
Give me the comedy. I love it.
So we looked a little similar, except for the fact that the guy was like 7 feet tall, right? And like, if you've ever seen those like giant round trash cans that are on wheels, right?
Yep.
So there's one day we're preparing for a banquet, and we're tourneing potatoes. So that basically means you make these little 7-sided football shapes out of a potato. And we had this event for like 500 or 600 people. So and every person gets 3 of them. So we had to make a lot of these. So he's sitting there doing these, and he has his foot on top of the trash can, right? Like just normally standing there because he's got these freakishly long legs. And he's just standing there with like his foot on top of this trash can. And the two of us are like doing this. So I'm like, it's a good time to like, we could be buddies, right? And I said to him, I said, chef, a lot of the servers and stuff around here keep looking at me, and they're like, hey, are you and chef related? Like, are you guys brothers? And he stops immediately. He puts his knife down, and he looks me straight in the eye. He says, I have a brother. You're not him. And he just picks his knife back up and start like nothing ever happened. I was like, all right, well, that was an awkward moment, But I learned a ton from this guy. I started there as like I worked at room service, doing like late night, overnight cooking, worked in banquets. One day he says to me, he's like, I'm letting the chef in the Florida room, which was one of the restaurants there. It's like the 60-seat restaurant, but it also served the pool deck, which was like 500 seats at lunch. He says, I'm letting him go.
Packed out because it's Florida.
Oh, he's like, I'm letting him go, and I'd like you to take over. So, I'm 20 years old, right? Wow. And he's like, here you go. He's like, here's the deal. He's like, I'm going to pay you $10 an hour. You can work as many hours a week as you want. Just clock in for 40.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, thanks so much, chef. This is the greatest, right? I'm thinking like, this is like awesome, right?
You're not thinking about those CIA bills.
No, that was my parents' problem. So, I'm sitting there, and now I'm working like every hour in the like that I could possibly work. Things are going great. I'm loving it. He calls me one day and he says, hey, come to my office, which his office was a separate building. You get in the car, you got to drive down the road, go to the main inn building. Like it's a whole thing. Like you're going to the big house.
Yeah.
And I go in, I sit down in his office, and he looks at me and says, I need to talk to you about something. I said, sure. He says, I'm pulling you out of the Florida room. Oh, but chef, why? Things are going so great. Guests like it. I've got all these ideas. He says, yeah, that's great. He says, but Klaus, our master butcher, is retiring, and I want you to study underneath him and take over the butcher shop. And I'm like, the butcher shop? Like, I don't want to be a butcher. I'm a chef. I'm like, this is awful. And he looked at me and says, one day you're going to thank me for this. I said, I don't think so, chef. But like, whatever. If that's what you need me to do, I'll do it. So now all of a sudden it was like being at work at 5:30 in the morning because Klaus would show up at 6 and he needed his butcher shop set up a very specific way with his apron folded a very specific way and his little side towels and his coffee in the refrigerated butcher room. But you had to time the coffee right so it was hot enough when he got there and it didn't get cold in the refrigerated butcher room.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
So it's like
Are you
real,
taking notes? I
like,
need you to start doing this.
like old school.
I like this already.
Like super old school.
Cut
and
that out. Cut his stupidity out.
I was so mad, right? Because I'm like, I don't want to be a butcher. And I'm like, I'm never going to thank this guy for this. Never. Not in a million years. So I learned a ton from Klaus. I became a very good meat cutter, very good fish cutter. Like I learned a lot about yields and managing yields and all sorts of things. Still wasn't happy. I eventually leave. I moved to New York. And I'm working as a sous chef at the Essex house in Manhattan. And, you know, my career, it seems like it's always like baptism by fire. Mm-hmm. But I step into the Essex house and I'm one of 2 banquet sous chefs and there's a banquet chef. And within my first 2 weeks, the other banquet sous chef transfers out and goes to work for the fine dining French restaurant within the hotel. So now I'm the only banquet sous chef. And then the banquet chef was lighting the deep fryer, pilot light, and it blew up, and he gave himself 3rd-degree burns. So now there's no banquet chef.
Yikes.
Ooh.
So now all of a sudden I'm in downtown Manhattan, and I'm in this prestigious hotel, and I'm the only one in the kitchen running the banquet department. And there was a guy, he's like, so all of a sudden now I'm the acting banquet chef with no sous chefs to lean on. And this guy who was the director of catering, we're coming up to the holiday season, and he's like, hey, we got to write holiday menus. So I'm young and eager, and I'm like, we can do anything. We can do anything. Like I'm like invincible, right?
Yep.
And
how
he
old
pulls.
are you at this point?
I'm 21 now.
Oh, it's only been like a year. Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
So like I started in Florida. I was 18.
So you went right into it. Wow.
Yeah. And then, 21, I moved to New York, and so this guy, Greg Spinelli, and Greg used to be the catering director for can't even remember the name of the place now. Not important. Anyway, so he's got years and years of experience. He's like, we got to work on holiday menus. You can come up to my office, and it's like this big old school office. He's got like these like tufted green leather chairs with like little brass studs in them and everything, like,
Totally old school.
It was very old school, and I'm sitting down and I'm super intimidated, but I'm like, I can't let him know I'm intimidated, right? Yeah. I'm invincible. Back to the early statement. So he's like, I've got all these ideas. We should do this. We should do this. We should do this. I said yes to everything, right? We can do all that. So I'm getting up and I'm walking out of his office. He got this big boardroom table in there. And he's like, stop, turn around. And I turn around and come back. He says, sit down. And he pours me a bourbon. And the 2 of us are now sitting there and we're working and we're just drinking this really nice bourbon. And he says, let me explain to you how this works. I said, sure. He says, I'm in sales. It's my job to ask you for everything. You're in operations. It's your job to tell me what you can't do. If we do this, you're screwed. You're never leaving this hotel ever in a million years. You're going to work 24 hours a day the entire holiday season, and you're still probably not going to get it done. So he taught me like some valuable lessons on like not overcommitting. Maybe you're not invincible. Maybe there is like a point where you're going to break. So he did that for a while. And I was there as, it was owned by a Japanese company at the time, and then it transferred and the ownership, and it was bought by Starwood. Then I moved back home, and I was working on the North Shore for another Starwood hotel property as their executive sous chef for a couple of years, kind of continuing to refine some skills. Went to work for a private country club and started wearing a suit every day as their food and beverage director. Then I decided I missed the kitchen, and I went back to actually work at the Boston Garden.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So a good friend of mine, another chef that I would consider a mentor, he's been there for 20 something years. And he's a food and beverage director now for them, for Delaware North. But I went in and I was running premium areas, Legends restaurant, and all the backstage catering and all that kind of stuff. And I did that for 2 years. And then there was a new hotel opening up, owned by an Irish company, and I'm married to an Irish woman. So there was already a little
Congratulations.
thank you. There's already like a little connection.
Yeah.
I'm married to her, and my boss at the garden says, you should go for this, right? Like you're ready for more. You should totally do this. So applied for the job, and it was myself and a great friend of mine, my old boss at the North Shore, were both the finalists applying for this job, and it came down to tastings, and I just wanted it so bad, and ended up getting the job. And
Awesome.
I opened this hotel. I spent 3 years there. I had a great guy that I worked with, Dan Donahue, who runs the Lenox Hotel here in Boston now. And Dan was a real kind of mentor of mine for just leadership in general. I'd had all these great culinary mentors, but then Dan was like the guy who taught me about people and how to manage people, and taught me so much about just like hospitality and the guest, and thinking less like a chef and thinking more like the entire operation.
Yeah.
He ended up leaving there, going to the Lenox, and shortly after that, I was approached by Smith & Wollensky Steakhouse. So Smith & Wollensky, I got to know a bunch of the people that ran Smith & Wollensky, because as they were opening the first one in Boston, they were staying at the hotel that I was working. So they were in the bar late, and I would kind of see them, send them out some appetizers, things like that. So the job came open, and they reached out to me and said, hey, we'd like you to come talk about it. And if you think about it, now all of a sudden, it was the first time that I could think about saying thank you to my chef in Florida, who made me be a butcher.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the reason for that part of the story, right?
Full
Now all of a
circle,
sudden,
I
I'm
love
like, okay, I have all of these skills that are applicable now. That, sure, I used them a little bit from here or there, but now I knew more about beef than I thought I knew.
Yeah.
And butchering and yields and all these things that were applicable. So I joined Smith & Wollensky, and I worked for them for a year. And I ended up making a decision. We moved to Ireland, my wife and I, and my young daughter.
All right. Now I'm getting jealous.
Yep. So we moved to Ireland, and I worked at this castle estate, Castle Leslie.
Oh,
Beautiful
damn, man,
estate.
You got a good story, man.
It's a
I'm
long
obsessed
one.
with
I'm
Ireland,
sorry.
so now
I'm
I'm really getting into it.
I'm taking up a ton of time. I'm sorry. It's a long
this
story.
is your podcast.
This is awesome.
And listen, if we're going to talk Ireland, this camera will roll for hours.
Okay.
Talk to me.
So Ireland, we moved to Ireland in 2008. So I think there's some people in Ireland that may personally blame me for the economic crash of Ireland, because it seemed to happen the day like I stepped foot on the soil of Ireland. So we moved over there, and it was one of those things that do we do it? Do we not do it? My daughter had just turned 2. My daughter Abby had just turned 2, and my wife Shauna and I kind of said, you know what? If we're ever gonna figure out if we're happier living in Ireland or happier living here, here's an opportunity. So I asked them for the sun, the moon, the stars, and they said yes to all of it. And flew us over and gave us this house to live in, and like everything was amazing.
Oh, that's great.
And then the economy tanked,
Yeah.
and everything became less amazing, right? All of a sudden, I was like, we're paying you all this money. You can't have anybody else to work for you, kind of a thing, right? Like you just need to do it all. So eventually ended up leaving there, and we opened a restaurant with my father-in-law, which we had for a year. And I'll just say we learned the lesson of why you don't go into business with family.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was a great experience. I'm glad we did it. But it was tough. So we made the decision to move back, and the guys at Smith & Wollensky were like, oh, hey, we hear you're coming home. We hear you're back. Interested in coming back to S&W. So I did. I came back. I ran the original location in Boston, opened up the new location in Boston, and was kind of an area chef for them, kind of overseeing both. And then transitioned into being their corporate chef. And then as the company grew, we needed a parent company, right? We needed a bigger, right? So they bought Strega restaurants, and now PPX Hospitality was formed, and now I was VP of Culinary for the group.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then they bought Legal Seafoods. And I was VP of Culinary for the whole group. And it was super cool. And we had this amazing woman who has since passed away, Anne-Marie Escobar, who was the president of Legal Seafoods. And she was just this amazing, charismatic woman, just full of life, full of energy. And she got to a point with her health that she decided she needed to step down.
Mm.
And they were like, okay, we need to replace her.
Yeah.
And the question was posed to me, hey, we know you love putting on the whites every day, but like, would you consider it? Because we keep trying to think of who we need to take over. And we keep coming back to, well, what about Matt? What about Matt? And then it was just sort of like, somebody should probably ask Matt.
Yeah.
So we had the conversation, and I stepped into this role 3 years ago as president and COO of Legal.
That's awesome.
So that's the short version of the story. Unbelievably, right? I know it's long, but like that's I edited
cool.
and cut some things out.
That's a beautiful story. It's like there's so much to kind of dive into there. But I think the first thing that kind of came to mind is the process, because I personally don't have like a ton of experience in the food space. I know he's worked at D'Angelo, and then RJ's. I've never worked in a kitchen. I've never worked in a restaurant before in my life. So kind of hearing the methods that it takes to run a restaurant, be involved in the programs. And I guess I'm just a little bit more intrigued by how you had to go through so many hoops to get to where you are in that process, because there's a lot of people who go to school for culinary arts.
Yep.
And I'm just kind of curious that if there was something you could have told yourself when you were 19 or 20 to about where you got to where
Don't
you
drink
are
as
now.
much.
Yeah. Because it seems like you had to have a lot of grit and a lot of discipline and wherewithal to go through so many. Because I feel like often when you hear people who are, they get into the industry and like, that's it. They don't want to move around. They don't want to change. They get comfortable, complacent. But It feels like you just kept going against the tide until you found something that really pushed you forward.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's a challenging and difficult industry, right? There's a million people that go to culinary school and start off and don't end up where I am. So I consider myself very, very lucky. And, some of it is grit. Some of it is just hard work. It's seeking out the next opportunity. I definitely bounced a bit, in my earlier career. It was, 2 years here, 3 years there, 2 years there. But it was always about moving to a place that gave me a different experience, right? I could learn something else that was going to help me in the future.
Yeah.
But then there's also the just like being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
I've now been with Smith & Wollensky and Legal Seafoods for, combined, it's like 15 years, right? But, so opportunity has continued to present itself, and I've continued to jump up and take them and put myself maybe in situations that I'm not necessarily comfortable in. Like I took over this job and oh my God, do I know what I'm doing? Is this going to be okay? But then you think back to all the people that you've worked with, all the things that you've learned over the years, and you realize, I do know what to do.
Yeah.
And I think, it's untypical
Yeah.
for somebody from a chef background, to end up in the role that I'm in. And I don't think it should be. Right. And I guess that would be a thing that I would say to, younger chefs starting out is don't limit yourself to thinking the fact that, every day I have to put on my whites, right? I got to put the whites on. I got to have that like nice crease down the sleeve, and that, being the corporate chef or being the executive chef of the hotel, that's my goal. Well, maybe your goal's bigger than that, right? And you don't even know it yet, because I didn't. But, you start looking at it and, as a chef, you learn so much about the business end of running restaurants. And some of the people that work for me are going to maybe complain about me saying this, but almost more so than you do working in the front of house. Right? If you think about the way the business runs and the expenses of a business, right? If you truly just talk about the business side.
Right.
The majority of the expense is in the heart of house or back of house, as other people would call it, right? You're spending more money on food, spend a lot more money on your heart of house, back of house labor, right? So typically your chef is in charge or is looking after maintenance and repairs of the building. They've got the vendor contacts. they're in control of the majority of the P&L.
Mm.
Right. So you actually learn a lot of good business sense that is applicable to the entire organization. And I think there's not enough owners of restaurants that recognize that, or owners of restaurant groups that recognize that, you know what, sometimes the skill, you know, they get so focused on that guest satisfaction and the guest interaction and like,
Right.
the person who's the president and in charge has to be a person that's just lived in a dining room for the last 30 years. Yeah. So, I mean, I would challenge chefs to put themselves in positions in their life and in their career that force them to be in the dining room, force them to get comfortable being in the dining room, because you can learn that skill, right? You can learn how to talk to a guest. You can learn how to de-escalate a problem. If you can add that to your repertoire, then there's no real ceiling for you because you've got the rest of it.
That's awesome. Do you feel like it's a little bit different when you work in the food industry? Because like sometimes I feel when you have someone's resume in front of you outside of the food industry, it's like, oh, you know, you got 5-6 years here, 7-8 years there, and you're like, okay, my step.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Sorry, just
You know, you kind of see that, like, for lack of a better term, because this isn't the right word I'm using, but like loyalty per se.
Mhm.
But when you see it from like how you just said, because you kind of said you bounced around a lot. But you probably learned more doing that and brought that to where you are now and have been able to pass that down. So do you feel like that's like reversed in the kitchen/food industry?
Yeah, a bit, right? I mean, I think you get to a point in your career that now you're looking for some more longevity. I think maybe years ago we were looking for more longevity, but I think now, like, I remember saying to my family, right, I'm going to the Culinary Institute. It's a 2-year program. I'm going to get out of there. And my next 2 years are like 2 more years of school. You know, think about it. Like if I was going to get a bachelor's degree, I'd be in school for 4 years.
Right.
So I took a job at $8 an hour, but I took a job based on a place that I could learn a lot. Not based on a place that I was like, I'm going to go make a bunch of money. Right. So, I mean, I was learning more and more and more and learning a ton for the next 2 years. And I think for me, that's been part of the success is staying at restaurants, staying at jobs long enough that it doesn't look like you're a flight risk, right? Because that's obviously still a concern, right? If you're 6 months here, 9 months there, you know, and you're not making it that year and a half ever in a restaurant. Yeah, you might not get the opportunities because people are like, hey, you know, by the time I train them and they're really producing, they're going to be looking for the next thing. So there's a balance. But I would say early in a career, you know, a year and a half in places and moving on to the next place to learn more is good. And then I'd say as you get later in your career, you really want to be, you know, 2-3 years plus in a location because now you're really showing what you can do versus it's a learning curve.
Gotcha. Now, are you still involved in the curation of like some of your plates and some of the things that your chefs are doing here at Legal Seafood?
So I'm really lucky. I have a guy that works with me, Brian Doyle. Brian has been my right hand for quite a long time. I'm at Smith & Wollensky. I brought him in there. He also briefly left and came back to me. And he's been a right hand for me for many years. And he has now stepped up into the role of being vice president of culinary for our entire group. So he and I will bounce ideas off of each other, specifically for Legal Seafoods, but also for Smith & Wollensky. We'll get together and taste things, and it's a real collaborative effort, but he's doing a lot of the heavy lifting now because I don't have the time to, you know, say I'm going to go spend, you know, a couple of weeks doing strictly just R&D on new menu items. But, you know, there's a couple of things over that we'll bring over at some point. Yes, I saw that. Which was one of the things that we collaborated on, which is like a kind of fun spin on a lobster roll.
I love that. Vin, bring those over here if you don't mind.
What would you say was the hardest thing to learn growing up?
Probably learning how to like use, save, or spend money.
You legit worked in banking, did you not?
You're welcome.
Are you still with Dime Bank or are you too Hollywood now?
Okay, rude, but yes, I am.
Imagine your followers finding out you're with a Connecticut-based bank.
Okay, first of all, they have a branch in Wesley, Rhode Island, which is where we grew up. So really that's brownie points because I'm sticking to my roots. Second, I think everyone would appreciate that I'm with a bank that knows and understands their community. Their tagline is legit. Community banking lives here.
Hey, I'm not asking you to sell me on it. I've been banking with them for years, and they know me on a first-name basis. I'm just saying I'm surprised is all. I can see the headlines now. Mr. Anti-Connecticut actually banks with local community bank?
Okay, you know what? Follow along with me here. They're FDIC insured, equal housing lenders, wicked friendly. They take care of all my personal needs, have expansive products to help all my businesses, offer lending across the board, merchant services. What more could I possibly want or need? And you know that I secretly like Connecticut, so...
Oh, I hope you heard that, folks. Dime Bank is the reason Ian loves Connecticut.
Okay, you're ridiculous. Funny story, though. You know how they have like the mobile app with like banking, Lifesaver, you can do all the deposits. Have you tried to teach your mom how to do the mobile deposit
No.
yet? I was teaching my mom how to do it, and she takes a selfie instead of the check. Visit dimebank.com to learn more.
So this is kind of a fun thing that we came up with, which is kind of turning the traditional New England lobster roll on its head and turning it into a cone.
Look at that. Oh, we got some nice bowl of New England clam chowder.
Bowl of chowder.
Love it.
Gotta have some
All right, so
chowder.
walk me through, deconstruct this for me on how this was getting made, because that looks delicious. That looks like I'm actually paying for lobster and getting some lobster. How rewarding.
That's
pretty-
crazy.
Pretty rare in New England.
I guess in the restaurant business, if you don't innovate, you kind of die, right? So how do you take a brand like Legal Seafoods that is so well known, so iconic, and just it's part of New England, right?
Yes, a staple.
It is, right? So how do you innovate in a way that you don't destroy it, right? Because you have to stay true to what it is, right? It's such like a part of the fabric of New England that
Exactly.
you can't just be like, okay, we're changing everything. So, one of our top selling items is a lobster roll, obviously.
Right.
So how do you innovate a lobster roll? How do you make it fun, new? How do you engage with a younger demographic that is going out socially? They're sharing things. They're having drinks at the bar. So you make a lobster roll into, a cone, right? So it's like an ice cream cone, but it's bread.
Okay.
So it's made out of puff pastry. And, when we first came up with this was an idea. And it was a sketch drawn of what the holder looks like. And then we had to get somebody to make it. And we were trying to source people to make the cone for us. And everything we got was just way too hip, right? Because I think you said earlier, you're like, oh, it looks like I'm actually getting lobster, right?
Right.
The last thing we wanted was all of this bread and no real lobster. So we had to make them ourselves because nobody can make them.
Right, the way
Nobody
that
could
you were
mass
looking for.
produce them in a way that they were light enough, delicate enough.
Gotcha.
So we've a production facility that does a lot of things for our restaurants, makes chowder, which you have over there, and other things. So we, by hand, make a couple of thousand of these a week.
Wow.
That's insane. I
Um,
love that.
So, that's where it came out of. So it is a lobster roll, but it is inside a little bread cone that we make.
Now, are these intended to be served like a cold lobster roll?
So
or?
you can get them as a cold lobster roll. You can get them as a hot lobster roll. We also do
Now we're
a
talking.
buffalo popcorn shrimp in it.
And wait a minute now.
Coming soon, there's a smoked salmon one as well.
Wow.
And you can kind of mix and match. You can get a stand that's got a couple of each. You can get a stand that's all one.
That's cool.
Yeah, and we're working on playing with like some little cocktail samples that can slide into these as well. So as we made them with like a notch
Yeah.
in there, so you can actually put a glass in there as well. So like it could be a margarita flight. It could be a 3 lobster cones and 3 little taste margaritas. Lots of options.
I love that. That's really cool. My other question I have for you is, as like someone who makes creative art in the social media space, as a chef, where does the creativeness come from for food? Because when I think about food, I think steak or chicken. That's like, and then like ground beef. But then
What's
again,
wrong with
it's like, which is great. But I have like a palate of a child. Like I don't feel like I
Can
get out of
confirm.
my comfort zone a
Yep,
ton.
this is where I'll take over the pod. You sit back and host RJ ready to eat. Let's talk, Matt.
Yeah, let's
He's
talk.
he's just a sauce guy.
That's not true. I'm gonna eat everything, guy.
No, and it's not saying that I'm not willing to try anything, but I guess I feel as if there's only like a few options. How can you really have this many, different types of foods? But it really can be that way. So I'm just curious, as a chef, where the creative process comes from and how you would construct a new dish. Like, where does the thought process start and where does it go to?
So, I mean, if for me, and I think for most chefs, right, the first rule is you have to get out of your head, like you were a kid and somebody would say, don't play with your food. Always play with your food. Right?
You hear that, Mom?
Always play with your food, right? And try different combinations, sometimes however weird they may sound, right? Because that's sort of how you train your palate a bit to understand flavors that work together and don't work together. And then it's developing an understanding of what different flavors do to a dish. What's going to happen if I add acid? What's going to happen if I add sweetness? What's going to happen if I add salt? What's going to happen if I add some bitterness or some spice to this? What's that going to do to the overall flavor? And you learn that by just continually tasting things and training your palate to understand, so that when you taste something, you're like, you know what this needs? It needs something. It needs a bitter element. And then you're like, all right, what are my bitter elements I could work with? I could add an herb to it that's got a bitterness to it. I could add, certain peppers that have a bitterness to them. Like, there's a lot of things that I could do to alter the flavor of the dish slightly, right? But as far as like something like this, it comes out of like looking at your guest base, looking at what are the trends in dining right now? And then how do you try to create something that suits that trend? And, like you talk about creating things like in the social media world, and, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever way you look at it.
Probably unfortunate, but we'll see.
we live in a world now that the camera eats first.
Yes.
Oh my God. My cousin said that one time. I hadn't seen her in years. I'm sorry. This is super weird that you just said that.
Phone eats first.
And she was like, camera eats first. Got to take a picture. Got to do this. Got to post it. And I'm like,
but it is true.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
which is why you need an aesthetic.
You need to create
Yes.
things
Lobster
that
cones.
are.
I was going to say, that's perfect.
Yeah, you need to
That's
create
so cool.
Instagrammable moments, right?
Yeah.
You need to create those things that people want to come to your restaurant, because it's
that's
also
so
free
smart.
PR.
Right, exactly.
It is
Exactly.
completely free marketing when somebody else random comes into your restaurant, has it, and they've got a shitload of friends, and they just post their stuff. All of a sudden, they're marketing your restaurant for you,
Exactly.
right?
that's so
But you
true.
need to give them something. Otherwise, they take a picture of a flat plate with a piece of salmon on it that looks, may taste delicious,
Yeah.
but it doesn't look interesting, that it stops people from just scrolling right by it,
Exactly.
right? So it's got to be
Great
like, stop the scroll,
That's it.
right? So I guess, that's an evolution in what it is to be a chef, right? Because you didn't think about that, 10, 15 years ago, right? It was like, I want to make the dish that tastes amazing. Sure, I want it to be aesthetically pleasing. I want you to sit down. I want you to look at it. It's always been a focus that the dish should be plated appropriately and it should look nice. It should be very clean. And, your eyes are going to first decide if you like this. But it was never a thought that completely random amateur photographers are taking a picture of it and posting it somewhere for the world to see.
And, I feel like in most cases, when it comes to restaurant reviews, most people who have a really good experience are more inclined to just verbally talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas people who have bad experiences really want that, that restaurant or that hotel or anywhere that they are to suffer. So they tell the world rather than
Particularly on Yelp.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
go
More
and
so
they
than
hate
any
Yelp and
other.
they make everything worse than it needs to be.
Yeah.
This is another question I have. This is kind of on the personal
Sure,
side.
go
I am
ahead.
terrible with spice.
Okay.
Like I can't do, pepper is about like where I cut it. Like after that, I can't really handle much. And I struggle, truthfully, to understand the purpose of burning your mouth while you're eating. So from a chef's perspective, I need you to help me understand, because I know it's like, oh, it adds spice. But if your mouth is on fire, how can you taste anything else?
Well, completely, right? So spice in that way, like heat, like from a chili pepper, it's not actually like a taste, technically. It's actually a sensory of pain.
So you have to like pain.
So what I'm gathering out of this is
I knew that about you.
you have a low pain threshold.
I have a very low pain.
That
Just
is
for that. Everything
right.
else, like
I'm
everything else is
gathering.
good,
No, but like that's so it is. It
That's
is
funny.
it is actually like a sense of pain. And
we gotta cut
and
this out because
That brings
I
you
can't have
back to
everyone thinking
football.
I'm not tough.
So like if you think back to my whole story and the adversity and struggling, I love spicy food. So
Yeah.
I guess I do like some degree of pain.
Yes.
Love it.
That's so funny.
That's
I didn't even think of it like
hilarious.
that. Legit, like I didn't eat banana peppers for years because I always thought that they were spicy.
Hmm.
and I had one by accident. I was like, these are fantastic. Who's been hiding these from me this entire time? Everyone's like, we
These are
told
not
you.
It's
spicy.
you.
Yeah,
That's
these are
so
not spicy.
funny. That's gold.
I
But
love that.
No, it definitely is chili peppers, that kind of spice level is all about a pain tolerance and enjoying that little bit of like some sort of sadistic thing in your head that you like that little bit of pain.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, Vin, you did the that wing challenge, right, out in
San
California,
Jose.
where
in
like he's
San
like
Jose.
throwing up and he's like red in the
Oh
face
my
and
God.
can't
Yeah.
breathe. I'm like, I don't understand. I just want chicken.
my God.
Why that?
So I'm gonna tell you, I had this idea, and I told like my director of marketing about this, that like I wanted to do that, and I want to invite people in and be the host,
Oh yeah,
but I
that'd be
want to
great.
do it with like a seafood item, but like with all the hot sauces, and do like just local Boston, New England people,
Mm.
like similar like you guys do
Yeah.
this like So New England podcast,
Right.
to just bring people in and like it's just like kind of notable people around New England that you bring in, and we have like shrimp, like tempura fried shrimp, and we have all these hot sauces.
Oh,
I love that. I will do the tempura shrimp without the spice. So
I'll do
be,
all the other ones.
You'll do the other ones.
He'll do the first one. I'll do all the rest.
I'll make you a banana pepper hot sauce.
I appreciate
Actually,
that.
that sounds
That's
really good.
so-
That
it
does-
does.
actually
It really
sound
does.
really good.
That's so cool. I love that.
All right, so I'd
Love
like to
that.
talk a little bit more about legal seafoods as a whole.
Absolutely.
I'd love to kind of understand the story about how it was created, why New England, what's so important about it, their involvement in the community, all of your locations, the inspiration behind the menu, and how it is incorporated in the New England demographics. And of course, I'd love to hear if you have any funny stories about customers, because I just know
Is that all?
there's.
I mean, that's all you want to know
Yeah.
about legal seafoods? So yeah, legal seafood started in Cambridge in Inman Square in 1950, and started really as a fish market and grew into what we know now as legal seafoods over decades, right? So we're about to head into our 75th year,
Wow, that's
which
amazing.
is
That's
like
so cool.
unheard of for a restaurant company, right? To be
Right.
75. That's crazy.
That's awesome. I
Um,
love that. Shows you what New England can do when they really like something.
Exactly. When you get the community behind something, it's amazing what you can do. So, I mean, it is evolved. It, started off with a very small menu and has grown for years. There's a dish on the menu, the baked haddock, right? That has been on the menu for years. And it's actually named, it's Anna's baked haddock. And it's named after Anna McAllister, who actually came up with that dish in the very first legal seafoods.
That's so
back in
cool.
the
love
day.
that.
And just recently, so her son worked for us, and just recently he retired.
Good for him. Look at that.
He was
Love the
working
good
for us. So he
nostalgic.
grew up with legal seafoods, right? His whole life was just surrounded. His mom worked there. He went in there as a kid. Then he worked there his whole career. He was 40 years working for us, and
Wow.
then just retired.
Amazing. Good for
Good
him.
for him.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Love that.
So the menu itself, do you guys pull from inspiration around like the New England demographic, or is it just like seafood is seafood?
I mean, no, we definitely pull from around New England. We look at competitors and see what they're doing. We utilize as much of our local resource as we can.
That's my next
we're-
question. Yeah.
We're sitting here. I'm not sure how wide the angle is, but
This
just
one's pretty good. This
just
one-
over here, that's the Boston Fish Pier.
Mm.
Right. So we have a lot of fish that's coming in right there.
wow.
Right. All of our haddock is coming in
So
there.
really, this is the best location.
Yeah.
for sure.
I know you're not supposed to say that,
I mean,
but
you're not supposed to have favorites.
Yeah.
It's like being a parent. You're not supposed to have like a favorite kid.
right. But
But like if I did,
but technically, if the kid is right across the
rhymes with
street and you
Harborside.
need the fish, I mean,
Yeah.
come on now.
So yeah, I mean, we've got, haddock coming in there. One of the things we did was we partnered with our local fishermen. There's a gentleman, Tori Bramonti, and Tori runs a fleet of ships out of here that fish locally for haddock, for pollock, for all sorts of other things. They bring in monkfish, they bring in some squid, all kinds of stuff. And he has his own boats, and then he has a bunch of people that kind of fish for him, and he controls their quotas, which is strictly regulated. He supplies them with ice, but it's all coming in right here. And, one of the first things I remember saying to him when I met Tori, I said, what is it that you need help with, right? As a fisherman, right? Because we have to be partners in this industry, right? I sell a lot of fish. You catch a lot of fish. Like what, and he said, pollock. He says, I catch a shitload of pollock. And nobody here really wants it, right? They just have this like view that they don't want to use it. So I started testing it out, and blind testing it. It makes better fish and chips than haddock does.
Interesting.
because it's a little bit more oily, right? If you cut it right and you make sure that you deep skin it and whatever, but it makes a better fish and chips. So we started using pollock for all of our fish and chips.
Hot take right there.
Because it's an amazing fish, and it is such a great local sustainable resource. Where other things are limited. Haddock is really strictly regulated. There's not as much of it available as there used to be. Cod, you really can't catch. Like, it's hanging in the State House,
Yeah.
right? The cod is in the State House, but there's very little cod caught here anymore
Right.
because we fished it to death.
No kidding. I did not know that.
So, our cod is coming, from Iceland,
Mm.
because I couldn't get enough cod every week to supply just this one restaurant
Right.
locally.
Let alone, how many restaurants are there
Let
now?
alone the 25 restaurants that I have.
25 of them.
Oh.
And where are they all located? Are they all in Massachusetts? Or
We've got Massachusetts. We've got one in Rhode Island.
Right.
One in Short Hills, New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
We've
okay.
got one
Go
at
with
Reagan
Jersey.
Airport in D.C.
Wow.
And
Okay.
then our furthest afield is Chicago.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know you went that far.
Yeah.
I thought it was just
that
a New
one.
England
That
thing.
one just opened last year.
Oh, congratulations. That's
Yeah.
great.
So
Giving Chicago a taste of New England.
exactly.
Although our sports have already given them a taste of New England long enough. Hey.
Whoa.
All right, Matt, we're going to get into our So New England segment now. So my first question for you right off the rip is, do you have a favorite location?
a favorite legal seafoods
A
location.
favorite legal seafoods location. If you were going to tell someone who's coming to visit New England and you were like, which location would really encapsulate the entire legal seafood experience?
Yeah, I mean, I would send them to Harborside, right? Like, if that person was coming into town, I would send them to this location. You got 3 floors, you got the amazing views. We do a great job in all of our restaurants, but like, what's outside us here, I can't recreate that
Yeah.
in other locations, right? Like, there's no substitute for that. So if you're visiting our city, or visiting New England, you got to make it to Boston, right? Like, you'd have to.
Right.
So you get to enjoy the city, you get to see the water views, you watch the planes take off, the boats coming in. This is the place.
Love that. All right, we have 6 beautiful states here in New England. And if you don't mind, I try to switch this up so it's a little bit different for everyone. Do you think you could assign a particular dish from Legal Seafoods that represents each New England state? Kind of
Oh,
put you on the
boy.
spot here, so take your
Wow.
time.
Okay. That's a tough one.
And in
Good
the
Lord.
meantime, we're going to pass out these. No.
Good Lord.
gonna
That's a
say-
tough question.
I get that one.
I mean, I think I would give calamari to Rhode Island.
Yes, we will take the
Yes.
calamars.
I think so. I think I'd probably give just the lobster to Massachusetts.
Yep.
Maine.
Maybe some chowder.
Maybe chowder in Maine. Yeah, maybe chowder in Maine. It's cold up there.
Yeah.
You know,
it
it
gets cold.
It gets cold up there. Vermont, it's got to be kind of like a free-spirited sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
And they are pretty landlocked as far as ocean is concerned. So
but it's just got to be this sort of earthy, free-spirited. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe I give them
just give them the bread roll, your appetizer, no biggie, whatever. It's just
What kind of
Vermont.
seafood salad?
maybe I give them
them.
like haddock or something. It's
All
like a staple. It's really reliable. Like, it's
There we go. We love it.
New Hampshire. It's got to be a little more edgy. Maybe I'll give them like monkfish or something like that.
Monkfish. There it is.
You know?
I've never had that before. Monkfish.
Yeah.
And then Connecticut.
Connecticut. What do I give Connecticut? I think I'll give Connecticut salmon.
All right.
Yeah.
An acquired taste.
Yeah, I think.
Not everyone likes salmon. Just putting that
Yeah,
out
but
there.
it doesn't offend anybody though.
Yes,
right?
exactly,
Like, not
yeah.
everybody likes it, but it doesn't offend
Yeah,
anyone.
you keep it on the menu,
Right.
for the people who like it.
And if you need to get to New York, you got to drive through it.
Exactly. All right. So now that I had you assign dishes, do you mind ranking your favorite New England states in order for us? Do you
Well,
have favorites? I'm going to assume.
I mean, I'm gonna say probably, obviously, number 1 is Massachusetts for me. I think 2 is Vermont, 3 is Rhode Island.
All right. Look at this. This is
This
a unique
This is very
order
nice.
here. We don't typically get this.
I'd say New Hampshire is 4. Maine 5 and Connecticut 6.
All right. Good old faithful stays at number 6. That's all we really care about.
Yeah,
That's great. That's a good lineup.
Sort of like an annex to New England almost.
Yeah,
right?
pretty much.
It's sort of like, it's like the extra. It's like a bonus.
Exactly. Now, if there was one thing that you would say is overrated about New England, what would it be? You deal with a lot of people. You're in Boston a lot. Like,
I mean, can I say like the annoying thing about being from
you
New
say
England?
whatever you want. This is your pod.
Like every time you go somewhere that isn't New England and they want to make you say car,
Yeah.
right? Because like we're completely incapable of using the letter R.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, maybe we just opt not to use it, but I can if I want to.
Right. Most annoying thing is the perception of our accent. I love that.
Right. It's just like, and then they want to do it like it's a fun game.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Some people make TikTok careers out of it.
like
You're
you
just
sit
trying to
there
buy
and
fish somewhere in DC.
and you
You're
sit
like,
there and
say
you think,
car.
you think
Just
to
give
yourself,
me the paddock.
but you think to yourself, like, have you heard yourself talk?
Yeah.
Like your accent's weird.
Now, what is the most underrated thing?
Underrated thing. I don't think people appreciate really like the variety of New England and kind of the beauty of New England, right?
Mm.
And that's like you said, like a little bit of like a weird, like my ranking, but like Vermont is beautiful,
Vermont is gorgeous.
right? It's just like a beautiful place to be. The people are super friendly, like, totally different than like going down to Rhode Island or being in Massachusetts and you're like on the
Right.
seaside.
Not as beautiful, not as friendly. I totally agree.
Totally less
Definitely
friendly,
not
but
as
like
friendly.
beautiful.
Definitely
But, like,
not as
beautiful in different
friendly.
ways. Definitely not as friendly. Nobody's as friendly as people from Vermont.
They
Like, I don't
really,
know.
truthfully.
Like seriously, like there's something going on there. I don't know.
Well, there's
I don't
not
know
as
what it
many
is.
people. The population,
Yeah.
there's a lot more trees, so they got fresh oxygen and not a bunch of fumes. Shout out Logan Airport over here.
But I think like things nobody ever said in the world ever is like, oh, that really rude person from Vermont.
Yeah, that's a very
True.
fair
That's a good point.
They
Right.
literally made an entire show called Family Guy making fun of how horrible Rhode Island people can be. So
But like even like driving, you see somebody with a Vermont license plate.
Yeah.
Have they ever cut you off?
no,
Not
No.
once.
Yeah.
I,
They're
every time I
usually
see
in the right lane doing the right things, not camping in the dome.
You
Yep.
see somebody with a New York license plate, we aim
Always.
for them.
Yes, 100%.
Right? Like
It's
that's that's
Mario
a
Kart.
target.
I used to start
Yeah.
throwing banana peels out the window, get them
Yep.
off my road.
Yep.
But Subarus, I leave them alone. Sorry, Vermont, I leave them alone.
Yeah. It's the same thing.
Exactly. Okay. How about sports? You a big sports guy?
I do. I love sports.
All right. Give me the rankings. Give me your New
Oh.
England sports teams in order.
New England sports teams in order. Red Sox, Celtics, Patriots, Bruins.
Ooh, okay. You ever get down to a Revs game? We
I
always
do.
like to
Yeah,
plug
no,
in
the
Revs. in
the
there.
Revs are great, right?
We
Like
get
the Revs are great.
Love it. We got
And
the
I-
Free
you know-
Jacks too.
And I put Bruins probably at the bottom only because I just don't understand hockey that well.
Same.
I have a hard time following.
Love the
and
Bruins.
I lose the puck.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here. I'm like, where is it?
Yeah.
Right. Like,
If
so
you're
it's
not in the first 5
it's-
to 10 rows, you're not really going to see
yeah,
it much.
and it's not a knock on the Bruins. It's just
Yeah.
like I struggle with hockey.
Yeah, it's a fast sport. It is.
Yeah.
It's a fast sport.
Where like basketball is a fast sport, but I can follow it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I can see the ball. It's
Mm.
big enough. I can see it.
It's big and
You
orange.
know, I'm not wearing my glasses right now, right? So I can barely see you. But even with my glasses on, I can't see the puck.
Yeah. That's so funny. All right, chef. Curate the perfect New England dish. Like someone from California, never been here before. They're going to sit down and eat and just like curate what would be the perfect dish that just represents and encapsulates all of New England.
Okay, well, I mean, it's a chowder and a lobster roll.
Love it.
Like,
Simple.
I mean, like,
Classic.
really, like there's nothing really more New England than that,
I agree.
That's a great, simple.
and then you got to have like a great local beer because we have so many amazing local beers.
That's very
we
true.
do.
What do
We
you
do.
keep on tap here? You got a couple of locals?
We got a couple locals. We actually have a couple that we worked in collaboration with Night Shift Brewery.
Oh, cool.
So we've got Legally Hazy,
Very
which is
Mhm.
like a New England hazy
Yeah, they're
IPA,
real good.
but it's a specific recipe that we worked on with them. We've got Bork's Brew that we worked on with Ray Bork.
that's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, and part of the proceeds of the sales of that go to his the Bork Foundation.
Oh, that's wonderful. And he's got his like annual gala coming up too, I believe.
Yeah,
very soon, right?
we've
So-
got a big check presentation on Thursday.
Oh,
Let's
that's
go.
great. That's so good. I love that. How about movies? You big into movies?
I do. I like movies.
It seems like you don't have a lot of time on your hands for movies.
but like I'm a big fan of The Departed.
all right, I was going to ask you,
like-
favorite Boston influence movie?
Yeah, The Departed.
I love
definitely.
that.
That's a good one.
Well, you know what? Let me ask you this. I am curious. What is your feeling of the depiction of chefs in movies? and TV shows. Like, is it accurate, or do they
No.
just like overham it up with like
They overdo
the
it.
attitudes and the flames and everything like that? I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
anytime I'm
totally,
at Texas Roadhouse, it looks like they're having a good time, and I'm sure Legal Seafoods is the same way.
totally overdo it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and I think if you went, certainly when I first started, I had chefs throw things at me, and a lot of craziness. But you can't do that
Yeah.
anymore, right? So, but if
Bring
you
back
have
the good old
this,
days where you could throw pans at other employees.
yeah, but you got to
guys.
heat them up first,
Yeah.
right? Like, don't throw a cold pan at somebody; they can catch that. I had this one chef. I'm sorry, I'm getting into another story.
No, tell it.
I had this one chef that I worked with. It was on my internship when I was in school, and he had this thing that he would do if he didn't think you were moving fast enough. He had a spatula, right? And he would keep the spatula like sitting on the side of the grill.
Yep.
And what he would do is he would sneak up behind you, and he would just touch you with the edge of the spatula on the back of your neck, and just burn the back of your neck.
Yep.
To make you move faster.
Jesus.
And I was like,
That's the reason why I'm happy I never worked in a kitchen, because I would have had burns everywhere.
Like, you
'cause I am a
only-
slow mover here.
you only get burnt once or twice before
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
you
gotta
see
move.
him
F
coming
that.
and you just look busy even
Yeah,
if you're not.
yeah.
Right? Like,
Gotta
but
clean,
yeah,
gotta clean.
that was his thing. That it was,
That's
I
so
mean,
funny.
so he was that way. But I mean, so many of these like TV chefs and the depiction of chefs in movies. You take like Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
It's like, I've met Gordon before. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Right? A really nice guy. But yet, that's not going to play amazing on TV for shows. Like, he's got to scream and yell at people.
Right.
Because like
The drama sells.
nobody wants to watch a show where it's like, oh, this really nice guy who wants to mentor people and see people to succeed. Right? That's not entertaining.
No. We want the guy that's going to make everyone cry.
That's
Exactly.
True. That's good.
New England seasons. You got a favorite?
Ooh. Fall.
Ooh, big fall
Yeah.
guy.
Like, I like this time of year.
Beautiful.
You know, I really do. I like the weather. It's a little cool. You wake up and it's kind of crisp, and then like get to the afternoon, it's like 75. It's nice.
I love that. What's a good dish for fall? Do you have like a good dish that you'd recommend for fall in general?
Like, so if I'm cooking at home,
Yeah.
braising something, right? Like, you get like
I don't know what that means.
you're starting getting
sounds
into
good.
those like winter vibes, right? So you like braise short ribs or something like
Oh,
that,
yeah.
and you got like that like real like kind of homey feeling, you
Mm.
know?
Love that.
That's good.
Making me a little bit hungry. Okay, so I know you've got this amazing festival coming up too, Oyster Fest, right?
do,
Give
yeah.
me some details on that.
So Oyster Fest is the month of October, right?
Oh, okay.
And
All of
the-
October.
all of October,
All
all
right.
month, right? And it's really celebrating the best time of year for oysters, and it's kind of like it's counterintuitive, right? People think about oysters all summer. Summer's not the best time to get oysters. It's actually the worst time to get oysters. Now, like,
No
we head
kidding,
into
okay.
October, it's the best time. The oysters are awesome. The like meat is just beautifully plump. It's a fantastic time for it. Right.
Okay, this is fun fact.
Oysters and oyster farming is so important to New England and to our coast and to our waters, right? Oysters are the most amazing filter of water, right? They're essentially like each oyster is a filter of water and keeps our oceans clean, right? So it's really important.
Another fun fact.
They're
is that
also-
why there's a little? Is that why I can taste the sand? Is that particles of?
Well, yeah.
filtering?
So you gotta, I mean, yeah. I mean, so if an oyster's not cleaned properly before you shuck it, then yeah, it could be very sandy, right? Because they're sitting there and they're kind of growing in like these sandbars that during times of the day the water comes down and they're exposed, and then times of day the water comes back up and they're completely under. They have to like go and shake them so
Yeah.
that it develops the shell, right? Because basically, as you break off the edges of the shell, more shell grows back and they get larger. And they
Oh,
grow into
shoot,
like the
okay.
right shape, and they got to kind of force them to grow deeper versus just longer. So it's a lot of manual, like it's hard work. It's a lot of manual, like every oyster gets handled and touched so many times while it's growing before we ever see it.
Wow, I did not know that. I figured you just like pick it up out of the sand and there you go, you got an oyster.
They're also one of the
Look
most
at this.
healthy things you can eat, right? Like from if you track macros or whatever, like
Yeah.
they're
Well, that's
amazing,
boring.
right?
Who does that?
Nobody does that stuff. But
They're
they're
also
super
a,
healthy.
a natural aphrodisiac, aren't they?
They
That's
allegedly
just
are.
weird that you would do that.
Sorry, Matt. Best friend for years. I had to do that.
I get you. I get you. So Oyster Month, Oyster Festival, we're celebrating it all October, and then we're partnering with our seafood partners, North Coast Seafoods, and a lot of our oyster growers that we work with, that we're going to donate a portion of the proceeds to the American Cancer Society.
Oh,
that's
wonderful.
awesome.
I love that.
So, it's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we partnered with American Cancer Society to donate to them. I think the biggest thing going on for Oyster Fest is it's $1 oysters all day on Tuesdays. All day.
$1 an oyster.
$1 an oyster.
I
Basically,
love it.
I'm actually like losing money on oysters.
Just full transparency.
Full transparency, I'm losing money, but you know what? Come in and buy a beer and I'm happy.
Exactly.
That's it.
I
Buy a
love
beer
that.
with those oysters. We're good.
And we're good.
That's amazing. Okay, so anything else you got going on besides that?
I mean, I got so many things going on. That's kind of the big one that's coming up. We're going to have our menu rollout for like our fall winter menu is going to be in about 3 weeks.
Awesome.
So we've got a few new things coming out then. Some new beverages coming out. We've been doing a lot with cocktail innovation. We're working on some private label wines that we've got a few wine producers working on them with us. They're probably, spring. We'll see those. But a lot of stuff in the works.
Fantastic. And where is the best place for everyone to kind of stay in touch? Is it just legalseafood.com? Is that the best place?
Yeah, legalseafoods.com is the best way to find us. You can fill out a contact us form if you need more information on there. But yeah.
Awesome. And then you guys are pretty active on social too. So is it just at Legal Seafoods and all that jazz on social media?
At Legal Seafoods.
Awesome. Matt, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for inviting us in. We are going to cut these cameras and try out some of these dishes here. Definitely the clam chowder, some of these lobster.
There's no clam chowder. It's all gone.
It's gone already.
We really appreciate your time today. Thank you very
Awesome.
much for
Thanks,
coming
Matt.
on and telling your story.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
That's going to conclude episode 5960. That's going to conclude episode 60 of the So New England podcast. I'm your host, Ian Brownhill. And please remember, folks,
Life's better in New England.
Ready